So I'm just gonna get started. So a massive hello to everybody. So great to see so many people on. I'm just going to share a screen. If I press that button and then that one, it's that bad moment when you just pray it works, given that we are a tech business, the tech has to work. Could I have a thumbs up, speakers, if you can see some slides? Lovely. Okay, very good. So let's get cracking. So massive welcome. My name is Catherine. I am your host for this evening. I am Managing Director of Daxi in the UK and Ireland. Daxi sponsors and facilitates these sessions. Daxi is a crypto exchange, so we're one of the places that you can purchase crypto. We're also the market leader in teaching people who are new to the industry or people that know a little bit and are trying to find out more. So I'm going to do a really quick introduction to myself before I introduce our amazing speakers for what I believe the posh word is a panel chat, but as you've probably heard if you've been online already, it was really more just of a chat. So definitely a conversational session. We don't have anything to sell you. We don't have any really complicated slides or graphs or loads of jargon that should really be in a PhD economics lecture. And I'm so proud to host what we believe is the largest online community of women who crypto. And obviously a few men that have crept in who we also welcome. So we've got loads of countries. I know people from New Zealand and Australia already, lots of ages, people that work in crypto professionally, people like me, people who have been investing in crypto for a while, to those that have either a side interest or a passion for it or who are new to the table. So you're all very welcome. If you haven't discovered the chat function, the format for this evening is super informal. In fact, you've all been encouraged to listen in with a glass of wine. So hopefully like me and Syra and Steph, you have a glass of wine. Claire's just smiling. I don't know how long she's been. There we are. I see.
Just got my water. I'm already on the water.
All right. It's been a long day. So look, there's a chat function. If you are new to Zoom, if you click on the chat button, you can talk to us. Be great to know where you're listening in from and what you're drinking. Do say hi. There's also the ability to converse with us. So whilst we're speaking, if any of it really talks to you, please do comment. If you've got any questions, please also comment. If you're feeling a bit shy, you can talk to me privately and ask me a question to ask on your behalf. And obviously I won't say who asked the question. So I got told off last time for not introducing myself. So I just need to tell you 30 seconds about who I am. So my name is Catherine Waller. You can find me on LinkedIn. As I said, I work for Daxi currently, which is actually my third business in crypto and blockchain. The other two that I scaled up got to 15.4 and 5 million valuations respectively. I spend a lot of time talking to the press about crypto. So these are just some of the publications I've written content for this year so far. So I talk a lot about crypto as industry. I often get asked what's going on, where prices are going, what's happening. I also write an awful lot about women's wealth, about female empowerment. And I'm really passionate about spreading that word. Crypto is a life-changing opportunity for lots of people. It's a very buzzy, vibrant industry. And I'm truly passionate about sort of spreading that word. So I'm very proud to have recently been nominated for a WireX Women in Crypto Power List, which is sponsored by the FinTech Times. And that's mostly off the back of my work with Women Who Crypto, which, as I say, we believe is the biggest online meetup for women who are interested in crypto. I also have a blog, which is called Adventures of a Unicorn, which you can find online, which is currently syndicated by We Are Tech Women. And again, I write a lot about crypto, about wealth creation, about female finances, and really the very strange and weird financial world that we find ourselves in. And so talking about scaling up Daxi, we are a business in hypergrowth. So basically, if I wake up with a really strong opinion or thought, or let's be honest, sometimes a bit of a rant, you will find that on my blog. So that's enough about me. I want to introduce my amazing speakers. So they've all donated their time this evening. They're all super busy ladies, so thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, they aren't professional speakers. They are contacts, friends in some cases of mine. They're just normal people that can talk about what's going on in the world at the moment, how and why they've chosen to empower themselves financially, and what you can do to protect yourself in this current strange environment. So we did ask our community what they'd most like to know. So I've got a few topics to run through, and I'm going to keep some holding slides open just so I can make sure that we've got the content running nicely. So what I'd like to do, if I can just come to you individually, just to introduce yourself, just say for 30 seconds, roughly what your background is, and when and how you got involved in crypto. So Sarah, I'll come to you since you're first on the slide. If you just say a quick hello and just introduce yourself, that would be amazing.
Hi everyone, my name's Sarah. I am from Glasgow. I had a beauty background which I've given up this year to run a couple of businesses from home, one of them being Daxi, and I got into crypto just last year. My dad actually introduced me to it. I'd wanted to get into it for a while, and here I am now actively doing it. So yeah, I've had a good journey so far.
Very good. And if I can just come to you next, Claire, please, that would be amazing.
Hi, it is lovely to be here. Thank you so much, Catherine. So my name is Claire. I am a single mum to 2 teen sons, and I have a background in education and well-being. And I discovered crypto only relatively recently, and have really enjoyed the education side of understanding more about finance, especially for empowering mums and financial literacy for children.
Very good. Thank you very much. And Emma, if I could just do the same for you, please, my love.
Sure. So my name's Emma. I'm a single parent. I'm down in London. I've got 2 boys who are 11 and 9. And my background really is I'm a business coach, a success coach, and I very much deal with mindset for women. And I think I got into Daxi last year sometime, and yeah, I'm really passionate about financial freedom and women earning more money in the world and moving forward in that way.
Excellent, very good. And Steph, my love, who is a brand new speaker for this session, her first time. So just a quick intro from you, my love.
Hi, I'm Steph. I'm married and I have 2 sons. I've got a 22-year-old and a 24-year-old. So that's interesting, especially this year while everyone's living at home. I have had several businesses. My main business was an alternative health company that I had for 10 years, which I sold a few years ago. And I have built 3 other companies before that. So Daxi is something that I learned about this year. I've been very excited about it. I've been very happy. And I met Kate and she enlightened me. And I work a lot in growth mindset. So I'm very much into new things, looking at new things, new skills, and building on the skills that I do have. So it's all very exciting for me too.
Great, thank you, my love. I have to confess that Steph was the first conversation I had about Daxi and about crypto when I took up my current role in February. And I came to just bend her ear as a commercially astute person. You've got a great background as a chief commercial officer. And actually, I think I was a bit embarrassed to then walk out. Well, how do I get involved? So when I didn't come to talk about that, I came to ask you what you think. So that was a real compliment. I also feel like next time, Sarah, we should get your dog on because your dog is quite famous from this slide. So I don't know if he can talk, but I feel like
that'll not be a problem. Yeah.
I feel like he should be on. So okay, guys, let's move on to our first topic. So look, it's not my intention to come online and scare anyone or upset anyone. I think there's more than enough negativity in the news right now. But I think we have to acknowledge that there is some really weird stuff going on. And I think, it's very easy to put your head in the sand and think, oh, we'll get back to normal really quickly. And look, everything that's happening right now affects every single person on this call. So in the UK, our stock market is down 20% for the year. Savings rates are dropping through the floor. My opinion, I've been putting quite a lot of this in the press, is that we'll see negative interest rates in the UK, the first time on record in the near future. House prices are set to drop 14% next year, according to the CEBR. I can see 50% coming off some commercial property. And it'd be interesting to know if there is anyone listening to this call that does not know someone that has been made redundant over coronavirus. And it's really tragic, and I don't take any joy in that news. So I think more importantly, we're just talking about people going on holiday whilst we were yakking away at the beginning of this call. It is likely this will last for a couple of years. Boris Johnson gave his Conservative Party conference speech last week, and to my knowledge, it's the first time a senior politician has said we will not be going back to the new normal. Our Chancellor in the UK has confirmed we're going to see some rising taxation. So I think it's not a message, please panic, but I think it is a message that we need to protect ourselves. And that's why the topic of this meeting is COVID proofing your finance. So look, I think I might come to you first, Steph, if that's okay. What do you feel is the current situation in the UK? Where are we at, I suppose, is the question. What's your take on what's going on? You've had a long business career. How do you feel about the current environment?
So the current environment is something we haven't seen before, obviously. The cycles that I've always looked for in businesses, I've always bought and sold on cycles, and I've always watched for patterns, and I always do the reverse of what's going on. At the moment, we've got this totally new normal, this totally new way of living, where we just don't know what's going to be happening next. And in business terms, there's so many businesses that are literally crippled by what we are going through. I think that the only way we can actually protect ourselves is by keeping our powder dry and diversifying. So, I mean, I've been looking, the experiences we've got in our household is I've got one son that's done extremely well out of the furlough scheme, because he was in a consultancy contract and billing lots of hours and a big salary. So this year he's done very well because of all the tax he's paid on that. He's got it all back, and he's got a nice big juicy check to look forward to every time they throw in more money. Whereas my other son was working for NatWest Markets, just got straight made redundant. Obviously he was in the wrong column and he was made redundant. And my husband is a consultant, and he lost 2 months of work this year. So that's how this year has affected us. When I sold my business, we are financially very secure. So, but we, by what we spend, we're now not spending what we were. We're just staying in a solid situation because we just don't know what's going to happen next. I may have 3 adults in the house with me for another year.
Sure.
And we're not going to go out. No, we're not going to go out and buy houses. We're not going to go out and buy flats. I'm not going to go and buy an apartment in Ibiza this year, or probably next year. I think you've got to consolidate. So your investment opportunities are different. You have to look for other things where there's a certain amount of newness, so that you can. Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Sarah, can I come to you, my love? Because I know that you're very passionate about helping people save money and have different streams of income. Would you mind just talking about that a little bit for me, please?
Basically different streams of income. So I just think it's important to have several different streams of income. I think probably that's made a lot of people sort of realise that this year we can't just rely on one steady income. There's been a lot of devastation caused by furlough and redundancies and whatnot. So basically don't place all your eggs in one basket. If you've got another fallback, then that's the kind of smart thing to do.
Sure. Okay, very good. So look, we're talking a lot about protection, and we'll come to that as a theme. I'm also, I've got a couple of slides about how the coronavirus has affected women financially worse. So I don't want to steal too much content from later. Claire, I want to come to you now, if that's okay, because I know it's something you feel really strongly about. So talk a little bit about why the coronavirus situation is particularly sort of something that women have to focus on, because I know you feel very strongly about this.
Well, yes, I mean, several of us here, are single parents, and I think that from my own point of view, there are several things really in unpicking this question. So just from a point of view of financial security, making sure that, you can make ends meet, that you've got a roof over the head, over your kids' heads, there's food on the table, and they've got everything they need to carry on doing what they want to do. That's one thing. And of course, if your job gets taken away, or if your salary is reduced, or if your clients aren't paying you on time for whatever reason, or if you've had to maybe reduce rates or have payment plans in order to keep going and to give other people flexibility, which is what's happened to me in the education sector. Like I'm actually busier than ever, but have had to change the way I charge, right? I've had to change the way I set up my business. Then that obviously is going to just affect simply your ingoings and outgoings on a daily basis. So that's just one thing. The other thing as well is, if you are reliant on your income, your household income as well from your spouse or your partner, and then they lose their job, then there's going to be perhaps more pressure on you as the mum to kind of try and make up that salary, or to, you know, like you were saying, Steph, suddenly you're juggling having a household with potentially 4 income streams going down to 1.5 income streams, with not knowing what's going on in the future. And so that puts a lot of pressure on us as kind of planners, right? and so we need to be mindful of these kinds of stresses, that even if things are okay, we can still be thinking in the back of our minds, yes, but how are we going to get through Christmas, or what's going to happen in January, or, you know, that kind of stuff, right? These are the kind of everyday pressures that I think women are under a lot more potentially than men are. And the final thing, of course, is apart from all the mindset and the energy work, but what are we actually telling our kids about money? Like, how are we handling that money in front of our children? What are these conversations that they're maybe even overhearing, even if we think they've gone to bed, they're not listening or whatever, that we're saying about money? And, you know, and so it's all about allowing our children as well to understand this kind of energy that money has, that it's not necessarily hard to come by, that there are other ways to make money, even in a crisis. All this sort of thing, I think, is so important, so that they don't grow up with these fears around not having enough money. And I know many of the ladies on this call will have a lot to say around that kind of thing too.
No, that's great. Thank you, Claire. And look, we're going to talk a lot more about resilience and what to do when stuff goes wrong. And we're going to talk about how kids and your marital status might feed into your feelings towards money and investment. So I'm very specific about coming to Emma last on the topic of coronavirus. So I know that Emma, you feel quite positive, quite strongly about maintaining a positive mindset towards it. So would you mind just giving us a quick run through your feelings in that regard? That would be amazing.
Yeah, so for me, I think I'm a really solution focused person. So it's really hard for me to, you know, go into the problem. If I see a problem, I'll automatically see the solution. So I just think in times like this, I look for opportunity, and there's so many opportunities. And I think, you know, crypto is one of them, for example. But I just, you know, for myself, I think the kind of mindset that you need to have in, you know, in terms of anything that goes wrong, you know, especially like in a, you know, COVID or whatever, is to look for the opportunities, look for the benefits. You know, what can you do? How can you be flexible? How can you change things? How can you change the way you're working? You know, what else can you do if it's, you know, within your family or within your home, to, you know, shift work or whatever, you know, whatever needs to be. But I think it's just, you know, it's a mindset thing for myself, and it's just automatic that I'll, you know, find the way. So I just think it's, when you think differently, you know, the solutions appear, but when you're focused on the problem often, you know, that's what you see. So, you know, I think this is just a great way to, you know, another way to create income and focus on what can be. And, you know, like you said, I think you said earlier, we're not going to go back to the same, you know, the same way it was. It's a new normal. So there's so many, you know, new things coming in, even in the way we work, and we see people working from home. And I do really believe that that's going to go on. And I think people are going to benefit from not having to go to workplaces so much. And, you know, the world's going to change, and there's amazing things that are going to come from that. So
amazing. Thank you. And look, I think it's very important to be positive. You know, I don't want to hold a conversation today which is doom and gloom. So look, there's some amazing threads that we've pulled out there, ladies. Thank you very much. Clearly very much about flexibility, about seeing that bigger picture, about being inventive. And I think we're going to pull some of those threads in a little bit more detail. So thank you very much. So look, I think one of the things that I hear time and time again from a lot of people that I meet through crypto, particularly if they're female investors, and in a way I'm really annoyed to have to even say the phrase female investors. It shouldn't matter what your gender is, crypto doesn't care, and neither do numbers. But I think they're often trying to think, what's the worst case? What am I trying to avoid here? What's keeping me up at night? And generally it is financial freedom, looking after your kids. And I think, you know, for crypto, it tells a great story. I know that we just had some feedback in the chat about crypto can perhaps isn't an income, maybe it's more of a capital growth investment. And I think it's both. I think you've got a really good point there. Most people that purchase crypto through Daxi are holders, so they're looking for a short to medium term hold. But look, some of the figures that crypto had delivered this year, has really, saved a lot of people. So for example, Ethereum's up about 200%, Bitcoin and our community coin, DAC coin, is up over 50. So at the moment, crypto is outperforming every other asset on the face of the planet. And I think that's been really key. So look, just to talk about goal setting, I think it's got to be really clear what you're trying to achieve. I think, Manny, you're right. Are you in it for capital growth? Are you in it for income? We'll talk a bit about resilience and when stuff goes wrong. There are a lot of life coaches and goal setting specialists that I meet through Daxi. For me personally, my investment journey started with property, and then got much more involved in crypto a couple of years ago. I hold some crypto, I trade some crypto. Obviously, I'm very crypto focused. And it was about diversification. So for nearly everyone that we meet through Daxi, most of our platform users are new to crypto as an industry. We are the specialist exchange on getting people from a point of zero knowledge. So I think for me, on my journey, it's very much been about financial freedom, security, giving my son, because I'm flying solo like a few other people on this call and on our panel, it's about giving my son the best possible life. And I think, a lot of people that are in crypto are in it because the other assets are doing so badly. I think a lot of the women will talk about marriage and kids in a couple of slides' time. It's a backup. So I know plenty of women that are married that are just building a little fund in the background, just as a bit of security, a bit of insurance, a bit of a rainy day, bit of a, I can say I'm off if I need to. So I just want to talk about what you're trying to achieve. How do you set goals? What does that success look like for you? I'll come to you first, Claire, if that's okay, because I know that you're all about the goal setting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's tried and tested method. This isn't something that I've made up, myself. I'm sure many people have heard of this, but just to remind people on this call, that something that I do is set these SMART goals, SMART, which are small, measurable, achievable, relevant, and within a time frame. And I think that we can do that financially as well as setting goals for our businesses. And I even encourage teenagers, who I work with doing the team transformation coaching I do, to set their own goals as well, to give them something to work towards, especially at the moment. This is so crucial for teens, as many young adults are feeling very lost at the moment, very isolated and worried about their future. So if they can see us as parents or as adults or as mentors using these kinds of strategies, even if it's not for actually the same kinds of goals that they might have, then they can see that this provides a good framework. And so something that I love with Daxi, for me personally, was that I could get started without putting in too much money, which made it feel for me small, measurable, achievable, right, relevant, and there was a time frame, because of course, given a month or so goes by and you look on there again and you're like, oh, amazing, it's gone up and I haven't done anything, and so I love that it's kind of bite-sized, and it feels very manageable for me, right? It doesn't feel overwhelming or too complicated. And I think that this is the thing with goal setting. You have to be stretching yourself slightly, which is where that mindset work comes in, which is why having conversations with people in this kind of platform is so important, so that people can see that we're all just regular women leading, regular lives, and we are making a difference to our families by taking these small steps every month, every day, doing something that might feel outside our comfort zones, but actually, making a difference and making things happen.
Great, thanks Claire. And look, lots of people that use our platform either start super low. We actually have a starting level of £100 sterling or $100 for our Australian customers that are listening in, and lots of people just put money into crypto as and when they can afford it. So every month between 50 and 70% of our business is repeat purchase, which is fantastic. So Emma, just in terms of goal setting, because I know you are also a coach, so it feels wrong not to ask you. Tell us a little bit about your take on setting goals, and how do you define success for you?
Oh, good question. Setting goals, similar to what Claire said, exactly the same thing, specific, measurable, that you can literally see it's happened. And one thing I do as well is I always write them down daily, because I find myself, I need a lot of focus. And if I can't see it visually, my mind will go after something else. So I actually literally will write mine down daily and just focus on what I need to do the next day. But in terms of success and what it means to me, for me, it's really about happiness. And I do think, you know, money as a tool is a real enabler of having amazing experiences. And for me, I'm not really materialistic in terms of, you know, wanting the designer handbags or anything like that. It's more for me about experiences like holidays, travel, being able to spend time, you know, with people that I love. It's all about that kind of stuff. So success for me is having, I suppose, really ultimately financial freedom, where I don't have to work. And I, you know, if I do work, it's working smarter, not harder, and just being happy ultimately. And spending time with those I love. That's the main thing for me, and be able to travel wherever I want.
Yeah, very good. And I think there's quite a lot of research that shows that women tend to prioritise experiences with their family, assuming they've got one, which not, of course, all women do. They tend to prioritise experience over sort of physical stuff, as you say. I'm a big believer in. I'm a very busy lady, so I have lists and lists of lists some days. And I'm personally a big believer of a vision board. I know some people find that really woo-woo and weird. The people are just shaking their heads there. So I have a vision board.
We all do it.
Love a vision board.
Love a vision board.
I have one in my kitchen. I have exactly the same one on my iPad. And I'm pleased to say that I wrote a blog posting recently about you should be a little bit embarrassed about your goals. Like, you should almost feel embarrassed saying them out loud to people. And when I find myself, say I hadn't actually written anything for press until the beginning of this year, and now I'm in loads of publications. We're about to list the DAT coin on a major exchange, which is fantastic. And we're on record now as saying that we are looking to list the business on the London Stock Exchange at some point next year. So look, I think goals are key, whether they're personal, whether they're fitness goals, whether they're financial goals. And I know there's a lot of people on this call that are actually qualified coaches in that, which is fantastic. So I just want to move on a little bit, if that's okay. I know this has come up as a theme a little bit about protecting yourself. So again, I think I'm very focused on that from a position of power. You know, I don't think you should do that from a position of fear. So I want to talk about what inspires you to improve your financial well-being. So I know that Emma's talked very passionately about experiences with her family. Steph, you've had a really long and really successful career. I know you're really passionate about your holidays. What inspires you when you're thinking, right, you talked about always wanting to be looking at business cycles, finding what's new, finding what's happening. What inspires you to improve your financial well-being?
Well, I was in the workplace full-time for 30 years. And during that time, I really didn't spend much time developing myself and my friendships. I didn't have time. I was in a position of survival. I lost my parents very young. I didn't have any money given to me. I wasn't left anything. And when I met my husband, we had 2 flats in negative equity and no cash between us. Gosh. So over the last 28 years, everything we've got, we did. There was no handout or help from anyone. So I think that when you come from a place of survival, you have to make it. Sure. And when we did start to make it, I made sure that everything was going to be in a stable position, that once we built, we weren't going to lose. And that takes a lot of planning. But over a long period of time, that's what you do. And now, since COVID, I've been working on my values and standing in my values, because the future, our future of us and the family, has got to now be happy with what we've done. I don't want to be, you know, one of these people that's just built something and just spends. I want to be able to enjoy my life. I want my family to have happiness. I want good friendships, not fake friendships. I want authentic people in my life, and I want health and fitness, because without that, you've got nothing.
Sure.
So my inspiration now is to be healthy and fit for the future. And I want to get my children to be stable at a very early age, so that they can really go for their goals. So since they've both been working, I have taken all their money and stashed it. And they've just been having fun and building their careers. And I think that you must reach for the stars. You must reach for the stars. There's nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't learn. You're not going to die trying. So I just want, now my passion is find new passions, learn more, keep learning. And I always want my children to see me doing that, because then they're enthusiastic about fighting for their dreams. Because I think dreams are very, very important, especially in this time. You've got to fight for your dreams. You've got to go for it.
Amen. Amen to that. And look, I know your boys are doing very well. So you mentioned earlier, one of them's just left a major bank. I know he's a high-flying tech job in a major bank. And your other son is quite close to being a famous DJ. I know he's already got his own radio show.
He is. Now, Monty is quite an interesting one, because he did a maths degree because his maths teacher told him he wouldn't be able to get one. He wasn't good enough. So he just showed her that he could, and he did. But whilst he got his maths degree, he also discovered a love of techno music, and he is now got his own radio show on Marlow FM. He does all the best new coming music. He has been signed by several labels. He's got a track dropping at the end of this month, and he's creating the most incredible music upstairs in his studio in the house. So he's now he's gone through quite a tough old year with girlfriends and uni and all that sort of rubbish, but he's definitely turned a corner where he's got his vision board. He knows exactly where he wants to be. He knows exactly which stage he wants to be playing, and his mind is there. You know, he's living that person. He is a DJ. He's an international DJ, but the big but is he can't gig at the moment. It's very frustrating.
Yeah,
but he's creating his music. He's creating his portfolio, which is just incredible. It really is incredible.
And you get to go and when he is gigging, of course, which he isn't at the moment, you get to go and dance to it, which is even better, I'm sure. So look, I think
Mummy did take him to Pasha, so he learned about Pasha from me.
Nice. So I feel like kind of what we're all saying in slightly different language is you have to work out what motivates you. So I feel like, you know, crypto is very flexible. You know, you can buy it, you can sell it. And a lot of people that are passionate about crypto, people like me, will say it's international, it's fairer, it's more democratic, it's faster, it's what's coming and what's new. I think there's a lot that we can unpack there. So I just want to go back on something that Steph said. You were talking very passionately about that you're completely self-made. I want to talk to you, Sarah, briefly in this section, if that's okay, because you have had such a major career change from being a professional makeup artist and then getting into crypto, amongst other things. Can you just talk about that process where you wake up and think, you know what, I need a change of scenery? Because I think yours is such a contrast. Would you mind just talking us through that for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So it sort of happened by accident, basically during lockdown. I didn't really have a choice. Obviously, that income stream got stripped away from me. I was very lucky though to have been doing Daxi and another business from last year as well. So I had options, which was really good. Since I've been doing all this since lockdown, I made the decision to not go back into the beauty industry. I think now it's really volatile, it's really difficult. A lot of my friends are still in that industry as well and they're really struggling. For me, I sometimes almost pinch myself. I'm really, 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 really grateful for where I am just now. It's not been completely easy, but it's been, a total change. But I've just adapted to it. I've just, sought out some learning and I've been on top of things, and I've treated things like this like a job and not really a part-time business. And I've kind of given it a lot of time, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the whole thing, and I'm actually glad now when I look back at the stressful environment of having to go back into that environment of a salon that I don't have to do that anymore. So yeah, feel very lucky.
Yeah, I know that the beauty industry particularly is really suffering right now. So look, inspirational stuff. Thanks, Sarah. So that brings me nicely on to building your power team. I think that Sarah said that she's treated it like a job. So I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about getting yourself in the best position. We've had a lot of comments about doing your homework, thinking long and hard about what you're doing. And look, we are in an environment now. I'm going to have to explain to my son what it was like before the internet existed. I've just written a blog posting. By the early 2000s, there was more computing power in your smartphone than the computers that got the man on the moon. So that is mad. We got people on the moon with less computing power than is in a smartphone. And that's been true for about 15 years now. So there's so much power in the information that we have available to us. There's so much content that's free. I'm going to do a slide right at the end about free resources that we put out that you can make available. And, you know, we very much try and make sure that the content we put out, whether it's ebooks or webinars or social meetups like this, is just spreading that word. And you can probably feel there's a lot of positivity around crypto, which, to be really brutally honest, right now, it brings me a lot of joy giving people good news. People that use our platform, they often buy crypto, don't look at it for 6 months or a year, and you have to say, look, you should really log on to the platform and see how you're doing. And again, that's where a lot of people come back, you know, month in, month out to purchase more for us. So I think for me, it's very important to educate yourself. That information is available for free at a touch of a button. So frankly, there is no excuse. We're all busy. I think for crypto, one of the great things, it's super flexible. It's a global asset. You know, you can find out if you're knackered from work and you're just lying on the sofa under a blanket with a glass of wine. You can go online and find content, not just from us. You know, I've spent most of this afternoon listening to a webinar about Ethereum, because obviously that's what I do for a living. And I think it's really key to surround yourself with those really knowledgeable, like-minded, supportive people. So obviously a lot of people on this call are part of Daxi already. If you're not, that's fine. We welcome you nonetheless. We have a very active WhatsApp group. We're always sharing you know, anything in the media that's come up that's relevant, anything that's happening, if there's stuff in the press about negative interest rates or housing prices or what the banks are up to. And to be really blunt, there's a lot of love and positivity without sounding too cheesy. We have a real laugh. We have a monthly Zoom social meetup where there's more wine, I can assure you, than we've had over this session, because I'm having to talk and make sense. So I just think having surrounded yourself with that power team, I really like the phrase that your net wealth will be a direct reflection of your network. And I know that Steph made a comment about having you know, the right solid friendships. So look, can I come to you, Emma, to talk about that power team? I know that you're involved a lot with property and you've built a good team around that. Can you talk about the importance of sort of that environment and that team that you have around you? That would be great.
Sure, yeah, I mean, it's the most important thing. They say, isn't it, the five people you're around the most is like literally what you can see in your life. Like if you look at the mentality of the five people you're around the most. And we have a saying in the industry I'm in as well, you know, I just think that everybody that supports you, and like whether it's, and it's another thing that I think is very funny, like I know Claire from online, there's a lot of people I know in Daxi, not through Daxi, but from other places in my life, through property or through my coaching and stuff. So it's often the case that people with a certain mindset are going to, you know, come together. And if you do have people that are, you know, either dragging you down or people that just think differently, you know, put doubts in your mind, or especially if you don't have a strong mindset. And I just think, you know, I'm in a place in my life where I wouldn't necessarily just have people like that in my life, you know, and that's sometimes not always easy to do. Obviously my family, you know, are not involved in things like this, and, you know, God bless them and stuff. But, you know, if it's choice, then I would choose just to have the strong people around me, because they really do bring you up. And when you've got people that are inspirational and doing things that you want to do, you want to be with them, you know, and it's, you know, you get that urge, you get that motivation, you get that feeling to want to, you know, be the same. And you see people that are earning money, or, you know, or whatever it might be, or just becoming successful or becoming more happy or having more time freedom. And of course you want the same thing for yourself. And it's just, you know, when you surround yourself with people like that, it's just, I think it rubs off, and I think it just creates even more enthusiasm, and then together people can get further. And I think really it's a lot about support as well. Like, you know, in the property thing I do, or even in Daxi or any of these things, you feel so supported. And I think for me especially, I lead with relationship, and one of my core values is love and relationship. So it's really important to me to have that. And it's just, yeah, it's amazing. That in itself is what creates happiness anyway. And if you can have happiness and success, then, you know, even better.
Yeah, sure. And look, that community feel is really important. I just want to answer a question that came up in the chat. So Daxi is a community. We are a platform of people that buy and sell and hold crypto and learn about crypto, which is great. We are the only platform that encourages interaction between the business and their users. So we're very present. You know, this event is online. It will be recorded and shared. If you go to our website, we have a full events page. So we have a daily meetup which is just general chinwag, to be honest. We have an Ask Me Anything with the founder and myself every other Tuesday. We put out specialist content for property investors looking to get into crypto. We put out specialist content for accountants, IFAs, and that's just for our platform users. They're not even people that work for Daxi or wish to be involved in Daxi other than from a crypto perspective. We do, of course, have people that talk to friends and family, and they do get paid a referral bonus for that, but it's certainly not compulsory. And if you would like to talk more about that, we'd be very happy to do so. So look, Emma, you're very quite firm, if you like, about perhaps pushing away some of those people that you don't feel are contributing to your health and happiness. I'm going to come to you, Sarah, because we were yakking about this over WhatsApp today. What do you do when you get the odd person that says, you know, what are you doing that for? Why do you want nice holidays? Why would you want more money? What do you mean you're leaving your job to start something new? So I suppose just how do you deal very generally with negativity, or if we're going to be really blunt, the haters, people where nothing's good enough and they've just got the other. Sarah, over to you, my love.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Catherine. I've had a lot of that in my life, I think. A lot of negativity, jealous people trying to bring you down, pretty much for their own reasons. So I just try to nowadays surround myself with positive people only, and like-minded people that sort of bring you up and that are happy for you and your successes. Understand that you might be taking a risk with something, but don't judge you for it, and sort of, you know, just applaud you and say well done. I think a lot of the haters and negativity, sometimes a lot of that can come in this form of social media, but a lot of it actually can come in the form of gossip, Chinese whispers and things, but I tend to just laugh it off now. They're people's opinions, so to me, opinions of other people, I mean, they're always going to have them, so they just don't really matter to me. They just don't. So yeah, it's easy for me as an older woman, and older than, you know, when you're younger, you just sort of have a different mindset for these things. It's sure. Other people's opinions really matter to you, but as you get older, you just learn that that's all they are, and it's a reflection on who they are. So you should just get on with what you want to do and go where you know, do what you think is best for you, and that's it. Don't listen to anyone.
Very good. And look, I think particularly with crypto, when I say to someone, oh, I work in crypto, they're so keen to hear what I'm doing and what I'm up to. People are so intrigued. There's also a lot of misunderstanding out there. There's a lot of really bad platforms, bad products, bad coins. And I spend a lot of time saying, look, at Daxi, we only deal in the blue chips, which is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and our community coin. And look, that industry is maturing. You know, I meet people that bought crypto in 2017, and that I wasn't one of them. They made thousands of %. That's amazing. But look, the industry is very much maturing. The big investment banks, asset managers, hedge funds are now on board. You know, I reckon a third of the institutions have bought crypto. You look at all the big payment companies, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal. So I think as the crypto industry evolves, hopefully, you know, there is a bit of negativity around that. Hopefully, you know, when some of those gains, you know, are really so strong at the moment, I think that's dropping a little bit. Which brings me very nicely onto my next comment, which is long-term versus short-term investing. So I know we've had a little bit of chat already about there's some people that trade crypto. That's great. Our platform does do that, but most of the people we talk to are about holding for the short to medium term, for longer term wealth. We're one of the few platforms which has a slightly older crowd. Most of the platforms are aimed at the young, hip and trendy millennials, which certainly I don't identify with. Most of our buying audience is slightly older. Typically our buying audience is between 38 and 65. I know some of the chat has been talking about some of sort of the pension crisis. I know that's a real issue. And look, for most of our users, it's the first time you've been caught in the sandwich generation. So I know Steph's talking about having, you know, adult sons at home, you know, sons in their mid-20s. It's the first generation that have got both adult children, sometimes grandchildren, and elderly parents. It's a lot of weight on our shoulders. So I want to talk a little bit about sort of why those two things are different. So Claire, I want to talk to you about the nearer term investment. I know you mentioned that you put a little bit in sort of more regularly. Would you mind just talking a little bit that as a strategy that I know you've already mentioned it, but just talk a bit about the thinking around that. That would be great.
Yeah, so certainly for me, you know, with my budgeting, I want to make sure, like, I want to make sure that obviously I put my money where it needs to go to do everything that we need to do in the month. And then that there's some money which is also building up a kind of, you know, like a cushion, for want of a better word, because I was in a situation just before lockdown, you know, when they say buses come in threes, oh my goodness, this was literally like coaches coming in about tens. Like I had so many things going wrong in the house all at once, and literally I was like, oh my goodness, like all my little bits and pockets and everything had to, you know, disappeared literally in the space of 2 weeks. So it's really important to have that kind of cushion there, you know, for kind of emergency funds. And then of course you're looking as well at building up a longer term investment by putting in a little bit every month. That's what I try and do. I try and put in a little bit every month. And one of the coaches that I've listened to, and Emma, you've probably heard of him, you know, Dr. John Demartini, he talks about the 10% rule, right? And this, Steph, might be a fabulous man to send your older kids to listen to, right, about investing. Because, and I do this with my sons with pocket money and everything, like if you just get used to investing 10% of your income, however much your income is, by investing just the 10%, it's not so much that it's too painful, right? And you just get used to it. And then when your income increases, you just invest 10% again, you know, a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And this is how this man became, you know, a multi-billionaire, and now actually doesn't even own a house. His house is on a yacht on the ocean, because he travels so much that he doesn't actually really need a house in any particular location. And so this is a strategy that he has, this 10% rule, right? So I kind of, you know, think, right, I'm just going to put 10% of my monthly income into Daxi, and it'll do what it does, and that's it.
Very good. And you've been impressed so far?
I've been really impressed so far. To begin with, I didn't really understand it, I'll be totally honest. And I didn't, and so, but then when I started looking, and I was like, oh, it doesn't seem to have gone up that much. And then I looked again, and then I looked again, and then I worked it, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've made 40% profit on what I put in a few months ago. That's amazing. You know, and at the same time, I'm getting letters from the bank, various banks going, oh, your interest rate's going to go down, your interest rate's going to go down. And like, okay, you know,
yeah,
so
interest rates. So look, Steph, could I come, thank you so much, Claire. Steph, could I come to you? I know you were talking about the investing you've done over the longer term. So I think you've talked about you're coming to a stage of your career now where you're thinking, actually, I value quality of life over anything else. Can you talk about the mentality you've used for that kind of, you've been investing for retirement, might not be quite right, but over a longer term, that be correct?
Yeah, I sort of had an idea of the portfolio I wanted when I started Vitalia. So when we started that business, as soon as the cash started coming in quite readily, I started to set up a portfolio of investments straight away, because when you lay out the big checks in a business, as soon as that money is recouped, you start laying sand everywhere else. So I diversified it off into land, property, stocks, shares, gold. I just literally, I just spread it. And that way, there's several opportunities now for us. It could come from any source. So for the boys' future, I mean, we're fine, but for the boys' future, we have several opportunities that could come at any time. And I like that, because you don't know what's going to happen. You can try and be safe, but I'm always looking for opportunities where there is an investment opportunity, but potentially a big drop later. Some of the companies I've invested in over the years, it's been a long haul, but I can see them coming right now. And, you know, one of those is 10 years, but that's actually coming to fruition now, as is, I'm now in contract with the land. So that's another one that I've had for 20 years. That's an investment that I did 20 years ago, and I only did the contract this year. So that's exciting. That's one of my most exciting ones, because I invested in this so long ago, and you almost forget that you've got it. So that it's coming right now, so that's quite exciting. But I just think you have to just look for opportunities and not be frightened to try something new.
Yes, of course. And look, if you look at, I know we've mentioned DeMartini on this call. There's a guy, if you haven't heard of him, he wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Kiyosaki. He had a real thing about property for decades upon decades. I'm obviously by nature and by history, a bit like you, Steph, a property investor. And I don't mind saying I found crypto a couple of years ago because, like you, I was diversifying, I was curious, I just put a little bit in. And Kiyosaki now says, don't do property, that's about to drop. Do crypto and do gold.
Yeah.
And actually, Daxi has a forthcoming announcement about some other products we'll be listing to the market. I'm under a sworn secrecy for anything else, but in the next week to 10 days, you'll see some different things coming out from Daxi, which we're super excited about. So look, I just want to rattle through a couple of more topics. So look, I'm even probably a little bit annoyed that I have to call it this. So there are some amazing investors and business people on this call. Thank you so much for everyone that's been commenting on the chat. So look, all the major exchanges, us included, have really noticed a big uptick in female crypto users. So, as a business, we are very unusual. We're about 50% female on the headcount. We're about 50% female on our distribution. There's next to no female MDs, of which I'm very proud to be one. And just to have 50% of our platform users as women is just brilliant. So that's probably, in terms of users, quite typical across the crypto industry. So Cointelegraph found that since the beginning of the year, for all the exchanges, female users are up between 22 and 160%. I think that's probably, again, just as we're saying, because coronavirus makes you think outside the box a little bit, because you have to. And I think for me personally, crypto is very democratic, as I've said. It doesn't care if you're black, green, purple, a boy, a girl, whether you're 20 or 105, it doesn't matter. You know, it's something which is very, very sort of accessible. And I think for, you know, the current situation, you know, women have a slightly different situation. There's a gender pay gap. There's different career peaks and troughs. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have some time out for a career break, maybe you, you know, change direction. And let us be really clear here, in an economic downturn, it affects those at the bottom of the financial pile the worst. So that's women, it's BAME communities, anyone who is marginalized. And look, we've got some really specific things going on. You know, we have massively increased unpaid care work. Steph was talking about having, you know, boys home she wasn't expected. For younger kids like me, when the schools were shut and childcare was withdrawn, I was trying to run Europe for a fintech business and homeschool a 7-year-old. That is tough going. You know, wine was drunk. And look, you know, the gender distribution on those impacted sectors, you know, as Sarah was saying, whether it's beauty, hair care, you know, the tourism, the leisure, the retail, those are predominantly female industries. So in better news, there is a sense that actually women do better as investors. They're better at seeing a bigger picture. They're better at looking at the longer term. They're better at analysing trends. They're less ego-driven. There's been quite a lot of research around that. So I think the women that we've got that are investing as that backup policy, or, you know, just as sort of a bit of insurance outside their relationship. So look, I think I probably want to come to Emma here and ask, you know, I think you're very sort of intuition and community driven. What drives female investors and why might we be better at it?
Oh, good question. What drives female investors? I don't know. I suppose for me, yes, it is about, like, for me, I just feel something. I'm someone who makes decisions quite quickly, and I will just know. I just, you know, feel it and know. And also, I think another thing, maybe in terms of what you're saying, female investors, at least with Daxi, because we're relationship focused. Like a friend of mine got me into Daxi, so you trust. There's a trust there, and, you know, it's like word of mouth things as well. So I think they spread, and so I think just in general, like, we, you know, it's not like, I guess from a woman's perspective, we're more in that kind of community, so we talk more and we talk about these things and we spread this, you know, the word, and we'll talk to each other. And yeah, Nikki just said in the chat as well, who brought me in, better communication as well. And it's funny because I think with men, and this, you know, people might disagree with me here, but I've done a lot of work around male and female differences actually in relationships. Men can actually keep, you know, a slightly more secretive when they found stuff, and they'll protect the truth and things like this, whereas women, we want to share it, and it's in our nature more to, you know, share with others and talk and things like that. So I think that, you know, is probably where it comes from. And also it's interesting, I had someone when I was in the school run the other day actually, who was married obviously with kids, you know, I'm a single parent, but she was saying to me something about being interested in what I was doing as an income stream, because she was like, you know, if we divorce, I want something for myself. And it was just really interesting, you know, one, to hear her say that, you know, just to, you know, so openly share that with me. But that, you know, there are women that maybe are relying on their husband's money, or relying on, you know, someone else being the breadwinner, and they don't have this, you know, independence financially. So yeah, I think it's so important for women to look into this, for sure.
Look, that, I mean, Emma doesn't even know what slide's coming, but it brings me very nicely onto my so look, there's a lot of variety, even with our speakers. We have some divorced people, some people that are still married, people that have got kids, people that haven't, and that's fine. So I think being a parent does really alter the way you invest. You're normally investing for your children's future. I know that Steph, you've talked about that. I feel like, you know, we have lots of platform users with young children, with older children, and, you know, the thing that they share is that they're essentially trying to make sure that you can give your kids some opportunities. And crikey, you know, my son has a better social life than me. He's got more hobbies than I have. And I'm focused on making sure, you know, I'm never going to have to say to him that his options are limited. And I think Steph was using the phrase options, and, you know, you can allow your kids the capacity of opportunity. So Claire, I know we've talked about it really briefly, but can you just talk about, I know you're very much a professional educator, you have a very active Facebook group, which relates to education. Of course, that's your background, career and day job. Talk about how you can sort of convey some of that to your children. I know you feel strongly, so I'd love you to talk a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so I think the thing is, you know, many of us as mums will probably relate to this, that actually, you know, children respond to what they actually see rather than what you're actually telling them to do, right? And I know, Steph, you spoke, you know, really passionately as well about, you know, providing opportunities for your sons to go for their dreams. And this is a huge passion of mine, right? I'm a dream builder life coach. And one of the things that drives me and motivates me every day is to get up and to help young people actually discover their dream, their vision, you know, and to go for it. Now, the thing is, you can't be telling your young people in your household to go for their dreams if they see you in this dead-end job, if they see you exhausted, if they see that you're not looking after yourself and taking time for yourself, if they see you scrimping and saving, if they see you rushing around the whole time and you're saying, go for your dream, and then they're like, you know, but, you know, Mom, why aren't you going for yours, right? So we have to start with us. We have to start with us in order to really just show our next generation, you know, that they can do these things that they're not being taught at school. So although I'm a passionate educator, I'm not passionate about the current education system, right? So we need to educate them outside the box. And this is all about, you know, going for your dreams, doing your vision boards, having these kinds of conscious conversations, you know, including money mindset, including your money story, including your vision boards, including what it is that you can do with your pocket money or your first income or your Saturday job income. And this is so important, and it starts now. And this, for me, is the biggest opportunity that COVID has given us as families. And this is also why having a conversation with my sons, who unfortunately sometimes take on their father's mindset and paradigms, but that's a conversation for another day. But having a conversation with them about DAXI, you know, and even my 18-year-old son, he said, are you sure, Mum? Isn't that a bit risky putting your money in there, right? Which is fair enough. That's a comment that, you know, lots of people will say. And but it opens up this conversation about, well, let's talk about risk. Let's talk about investment. Let's talk about making your money work for you. And let's think about those things. And if you could put your money anywhere, where would you put it? And why would you put it there? And if you're not sure, well, let's have a conversation. Here's a webinar, here's some information, here's a podcast, right? And just open up that dialogue, not necessarily telling them what to do, but showing them that we've got this growth mindset to at least explore different options rather than the going down the road that we've all been fed up until now. And this is the beauty this is the opportunity. This is the golden nugget that coronavirus, in my opinion, is bringing to us now.
Very good. Thank you. And look, I think that you can never be too young for that. So obviously my son is substantially younger than your two lovely boys. And then obviously Steph's are older as well. So for me, my 7-year-old knows the value of money. I pay him £1 for mowing my lawn. I've got a tiny lawn and a really light, cheap Argos electric mower. So my son, who is 7, managed to make 20 quid over the summer mowing my lawn. And I said, look, you can spend it on whatever you like, as long as it's not like, you know, crystal meth. But you're 7, so it's up to you. And bizarrely, what he really wanted was some bungee cords from the pound shop. Don't know why, it's what his little heart was desperate for. And he's really interested. You know, I trade a little bit. I hold a lot of crypto and I trade some of it. So, you know, he'll watch me trade and say, Mummy, what's the target price for Bitcoin today? And at 7, you know, I think that's fantastic. You're, you know, teaching them the value of money. So I chose the holding slide of this one. When I put in female investors, I got some right kind of ball breaker corporate power suit people. And I chose this picture because I absolutely love that she's working and there's 2 kids in the room, and it looks like her other half is making dinner in the background. And I feel like a lot of the female investing can be quite negative. It's quite kind of like hedge your bets in case your husband, you know, does something wrong, which I don't necessarily think is right. So I think you can have some really productive relationships, which, you know, you can have a shared view of money, or, you know, you can have those conversations. So I certainly don't want to make that kind of an anti-man thing, not least of all because there are some men that have snuck in at the back. I see you there, Hugh. I think Ed tried to sneak in, but I think we've got him to leave. So look, Steph, I know you talked about you and your husband invest together, and that's a super positive experience. I know your husband's got a background in a very high-flying tech career. Could you just talk about some of the businesses you've worked on together? Because obviously that is a reasonably unusual. Like me, I'm in a relationship with a CTO, so we're really boring. We talk about tech all the time. Can you just talk about your experience of investing, you know, with and alongside your husband?
Well, we met in Mercury Communications. And at that time, Mike had his own business. He had his own consultancy, and I was working for Mercury, and I was working at the sort of upper level of management in the 225, and he was a consultant. So we met in that environment. When we got married, his business was basically sucking our finances dry. So when that business was sold, it's quite interesting because our joint investments are not always my decision, but my decision is normally more successful. So we have had, you know, if I leave Mike alone to play with stocks and shares, he'll inevitably lose a fortune. I just, you know, just saying. I think that men, they get too emotional when it comes to investing. I think women are more pragmatic about it. And I certainly, when I see an opportunity, I want that opportunity, and I don't let anything stop me. Whereas I think men are too, they just change their mind, and maybe this or maybe that. I think that we're able to look at things with a different focus.
Yes, I agree. And I think I still feel we're more positive. I think men can get really down in the dumps and really, like, you know, it's on top of them. And that's not all men, but I think as a bit of
no. I think that I just think we see things differently. I see opportunities where my husband wouldn't. Sure. And that's been good for us. Where he sees opportunities, I see money lost, and that happens. But, you know, you just got to cut those off. You know, they have to make their mistakes, but you know, you can sometimes see those coming.
But that sounds like it works for you. But it sounds like you've got to a good equilibrium.
Yeah, I think Mike would never invest without my knowing.
Sure.
I think we're there. We're at that point.
Excellent.
He'd be too frightened.
Very good. And Sarah, can I come to you briefly? Am I right in thinking that you got your other half into crypto in a little way? Would that be correct? I know you're more crazy for it than him is, but I think, have you managed to get your daughter involved and your partner? Would that be correct?
Not really, no. My partner actually bought crypto before I did. And
I didn't know that. I stand corrected.
Yeah. So he knew a lot more about it than what I did. And it was actually my dad that got me into crypto, but my partner actually has many crypto investments as well. And yeah, so he's had his own, but he's also invested in Daxi, of course. Yeah, we have a really good relationship. We talk about it a lot. He actually throws me a lot of education on a daily basis, which is really good because I'm quite busy, and he just sort of spouts these facts at me. So we work really well together that way.
Oh, excellent. Unfortunately, you might be a bit like me. I get a, have you seen what Ethereum's done overnight, before I get a good morning and I love you. But that's probably the way I want it. So look, I want to just rattle through this last slide. I'm just conscious that we're a little bit over time, but the content's been so amazing. I haven't wanted to wind up any of the answers any quicker. So look, we've talked a little about mindset. I think we've covered that in beautiful detail, not least of all because you guys are so passionate about it, and a few of you are working in that in a professional capacity. So I want to talk about resilience. It's probably where we started off in this presentation. You know, times are really tough, and it is really hard to maintain that positive mindset. I know you spoke about that with real passion, Emma. I know, Claire, you are very focused on mindsets. I think I want to really focus on resilience. So, you know, what happens when things do go wrong? You know, when you do think, oh, you know what, crypto is quite volatile. It has had, you know, a rubbish couple of weeks. You know, so it's great to say that Ethereum's up 200%. If you got in and out in the wrong couple of weeks, you absolutely would have caught a cold. So I think, Steph, if you wouldn't mind me coming back to you, just because you mentioned a few times where maybe things didn't go as well as you were expecting. How do you overcome that? How do you wrap your head around that?
Well, if you've got a business, if you've got your own business, you make decisions in that business and you make costs in that business. And I think if you make a decision, you have to be able to live with it.
Sure.
And you all learn, you can't have a growth mindset if you don't do things wrong. You know, you have to try. And to grow, to have a growth mindset, you have to go down that path. A fixed mindset's not going to get you anywhere. You've got to be you've got to go down that other road. It happens, and you just have to accept it and move on. And
so there will be some failure. You will fail at some point. Yeah.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. You will. But that is life. You know, you have to be able to pick yourself up. You have to be able to just drop that feeling and move on. It's just it's a healthy thing. It happens. You're not going to get it right all the time. It's not possible. But in order to grow and learn, you have to be able to leave yourself open for it. You have to grow. You have to learn. Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. And also, I think, you know, as a business, we're very education led. When I joined Daxi, I said, it is my opinion, we are an education business that happens to have a crypto platform, not the other way around.
You wouldn't get that in anything else. And that's part of one of the things I really, really love about Daxi, is you wouldn't get that education in anything else.
Sure. And I think, look, as I said to you, there's no excuse not to educate yourselves. There's a lot of chat chat on our chat function about, is it ever too late? And absolutely not. We have people coming to the table that are 65 that are learning about crypto for the first time. And the education is free, it's online, you can have it any time of day or night. I just don't think there's an excuse. So look, Sarah, I know we were talking earlier today about some of that volatility in the crypto market. I know probably of everyone on the call, I think you've owned crypto the longest. I know your partner has, from the sound of it. What do you do when crypto just has that horrible couple of days and you think, oh my goodness? Just talk us around how you feel about that. Oh, just unmute yourself, lovey. That's it. Well done.
Yeah, sorry. I just need to unmute myself. Volatility. There's always going to be volatility. It's a new space that we're in at the moment, so it's not kind of mainstream. So everyone's a little bit scared, I think, to take that sort of first step. I just think, you know, there always is going to be volatility in something like this, but we need to look at the sort of long-term sort of view, and that's the view I've sort of got, is it's, you know, I'm doing this for the long term, I'm not in it for the little ups and downs that we see along the way. You've just got to hang in there, look for look and wait for the gains that are going to be long term. I've got some, you know, really big sort of aspirations for when it comes to the long term investing. I am very excited about the venture exchange. It's one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most. But that's not going to be, you know, that's not going to be soon. That's going to be a long way down the road. So yeah, we just have to sort of hang on, have the faith, keep the faith, that things are going to, you know, turn out, because all of the big financial institutions that are putting in just now, that's what's really going to drive it. And you just need to look at the news and look at the articles and stuff that are out there at the moment, to see what, you know, what's really driving this. And yeah, just keep the faith basically, and have a good mindset, be positive, and just await for what's going to happen.
Oh, very good. And look, I get very annoyed when you get people that are super negative about crypto. We never talk about crypto as get rich quick. We are not a trading platform. We are for people that want to hold for the short to medium term. So most of the people that use our platform are after purchasing coins in their own name, in their own account, which is the only thing we do. And they're typically up for holding anywhere between 6 to 9 or maybe 12 to 18 months. And as Sarah rightly said, our long-term aspiration as a business is that we'll be a crowdfunder in the tech business space, which is down the line, but again for those sort of longer term investors. And look, I know particularly Claire was saying that, you know, she started off at a very low level. That was where she felt comfortable. I think you mentioned you started off at £100 and have put in more as and when you've either been able to justify the cash flow. And look, lots of people use crypto as always like a savings account. So look, I'm conscious that...
can I just say on that, Catherine, as a really important point is, of course, to make sure that people, you know, from my opinion, is just to make sure that people aren't investing money that they can't afford to lose, right? Like, you're not putting in money that has to be, that means that you can't do your weekly shopping, right? So the thing is, if it does go up and down, if it is volatile, it's not that it's money that you need to service your car, right? Like, it's important that people are investing money. I feel, for me anyway, that I'm investing money that I can kind of afford to lose. And therefore, when you look at it and it's volatile and it's going down, and it's like, well, that's okay. I don't need it to buy school uniform. I don't need it for school fees or for petrol or for food, right? It's there as a longer term investment. It's a strategy.
Sure, very good. So look, that brings me on to my last slide, which I think Claire's probably just answered, which is your one top tip. So I think for Claire, not to spend more than you can afford to leave, and of course, not to spend from daily cash flow. So Emma, what is your one top tip, do you think, in terms of the context of what we're talking about today, which is COVID proofing your finance, your one top tip?
I think look for the opportunities that are around at this time, because there are many, and I think there's going to be many in crypto space, but also elsewhere. Very good.
And if I can come to you, Sarah, next, just because you're next on my list, one top tip, please, my love.
Oh, I've got 3 though. I've got 3 top tips. Yeah, well, firstly, obviously having multiple income streams, as we talked about, is always better than one. One income stream can be stripped away, so we want to not just rely on that. Secondly, I would say purchasing crypto assets, because it has been the best performing asset class of 2019 and 2020. So yeah, and it's safer than keeping your money in the banks right now if you're using the right platform. Lastly, as well, is just checking your outgoings as well. They can be equally as important. Because in my other business, I speak to people every day that are still frittering thousands of pounds every year on things that they could be paying a lot less for, and they don't even realise it as well.
Very good. And coming to you last, please, Steph, what is your top tip from someone that's had a long career? Or a couple. Sorry, I couldn't choose between 3, so I probably can't force you to have.
My top tip is know what you need to spend.
Sure.
Because if you know what you need to spend, then you can look for the opportunities with what's left.
Very good. So that's the difference between spending money and investment money, by the sounds of it. Very good.
You need to know what your running cost is, and it will be a lot less than you really think.
Okay, so the difference between what, sort of compulsory spend and luxury spend.
Yeah.
And Claire, I'm very conscious that
I don't think people know their finances enough. I think you should really be best friends with your finances, because then you can make new friends with them.
Okay, very good. And look, Claire, I don't want you to feel shortchanged, because you started talking about your top tip and then we sort of ended up here. So is there anything else you'd like to add so you don't feel like I've cut you off?
No, not really. I mean, I think just, Steph said it a lot better than me, really. And, I think it is just know your budget, know your monthly budget, your incomings, your outgoings, like, be sensible. It's all on paper. It's not rocket science. Like, literally work out what you need, what you've got left over, and what you can do with it. Make your money work for you.
Very good.
Good
Or
advice.
you'll always be working for money. So I think you're quite right. So look, I just want to tie up a little bit. So a huge thank you to my speakers, which is Steph, Claire, Sarah and Emma, who gave their time so generously. I've been minding them for videos, for photos, for quotes, for content. So I really, truly appreciate you giving up your time. It's really inspirational stuff. They're some of my favorite people. Some are friends, some are colleagues. So I'm really blessed to know you all and for you to join us. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. So look, I just want to leave with one final comment. So some useful resources. I know there's people listening in that know Daxi well, some that don't know us at all. So Daxi is the leading business for crypto education. It's all free, it's online, there's no obligation. We put out loads of content. So you can find us on Facebook. We have a lot of content about crypto in the industry and what's we also have the Women Who Crypto event, which is very active, so you can find both of those on Facebook and join us. We have a lot of free ebooks, so if you'd like a copy of that, if you just private message me with your email in the chat function, I will grab those before I've closed the call. We also do lots of free events. We have a beginners session, which is Crypto for Beginners, which is happening next Monday the 19th at 8 p.m. You can find that on our website, which is www.daxi.com. There's an events page where, again, all our events are free and they're all hugely well attended and well appreciated. So look, I think that's all I have to cover this evening. Just one final great big thank you to everyone that attended and to all of our speakers. If there's anyone you think might benefit from this content, please point them towards our Facebook, and we'll also circulate a recording of this call for anyone that couldn't make it. I think we had some people that subscribed and then couldn't attend. So look, lots and lots of love to you all. Good luck with everything you've got going on. Obviously it's some very funny times out there, and hope to see you online for another session soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.